The holiday break is over, and we are so excited to be back with you here on RCI. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I would like to begin by wishing you a heartfelt congratulations on making it through another year on this weird floating blue marble. And I would also like to welcome you back to the Multi Sprint Series, Season 4. We're past the midpoint of this championship because today is round 4 at the bumpy, jumpy, former airfield and glittering South Floridian circuit of the Sebring International Raceway. I'm Jack Mays, joining you for the first time in 2026. Alongside me in the commentary box is our wonderful man himself, Jesse Lee. And of course, Ted Edwards is on the cameras for us today, showing us the sights and the sounds of this fantastic circuit. Jesse Lee, welcome to 2026. How are you feeling? How are you doing?
Hello, Jack. Hello, everybody at home. I'm feeling great. 2026, we're kicking it off with a bang here at LMU. Been a couple of weeks off for us, 1 week off for the series, of course, for the holidays, but new year, same LMU action multi class, getting ready to kick it off here with qualifying.
And before we get into qualifying, we're going to show you the race results from our previous round 3 at Imola. It was wet, it was gross, and unfortunately, we weren't here to watch it alongside you. But Louis Kirton was the driver who took victory in the hypercar field. Marko Badowski chased him down into second. Billy Octane, I believe, first time on the podium this season. Jordan Daly also is up a couple of positions from his usual spot. I think he's getting comfortable in these hypercars. Christopher Streppen in fifth, Klaus Nyring sixth, Milan van der Weyken in seventh, Eduardo Di Giacomi in eighth, and a surprise Ted Edwards is in ninth. Unfortunately, he retired very early on with the race. He says it was a wheel issue. I say maybe it was a skill issue. Maybe it's a little bit of both, but we'll see. We'll see. The jury's still out on that one. And in the GT3 fields, it's Nathan Smith Adams who is just sort of a force to be reckoned with in this series in his Porsche 911 GT3 car. Chase Jones as well. I think it's been a 1-2 for them in all of the first 3 rounds of the season. Matt Whitburn's in third. Zach Vermack is in fourth. Wojtek Rybecki is in fifth. Reese Wilkinson sixth. Tom Shipston seventh position. James Cowley eighth. Raphael Hewell is in ninth. Jacob Janowski in 10th. And Angela Scotti in 11th place. And before we get to the qualifying, because I'm as itching for it as much as you are, we're going to remind you of our standings for the season so far with the hypercar. Louis Kirton is leading the field, leading the championship into round 4. Milan van der Weyken is in second. Barnabas Fazekas in third. Billy Octane fourth. Marko Badowski fifth. Jordan Daly sixth. Christopher Streppen in seventh. Martin Vaselli in eighth position. Klaus Nyring ninth. Zeno Van Driesche 10th. Ryan O'Sullivan 11th. Ryan Gill 12th. And Adusa Carpenter rounding out our point scorers so far this season in 13th. For our GT3, it's the man, the myth, the legend, Chase Jones actually is leading the field. I thought it was Smith Adams, but maybe I got him backwards in my head. It's been a couple weeks. We'll get fired back up quickly, but it's a tight fight in the GT3 field between Chase Jones and Nathan Smith Adams in second, or in first and second, excuse me. Zach Vermack is in third. Matt Townsend fourth, Tom Shipston fifth, Jacob Janowski sixth, Reese Wilkinson seventh position, Tom Watts eighth, Wojtek Rybecki in ninth, Matt Whitburn in 10th, James Cowley 11th, Chevison Anthony in 12th, Fulvio DiPolito in 13th, Lily Armstrong, the fastest hands in the West, in 14th, Raphael Hewell in 15th, and Angela Scotti in 16th, rounding out our points scorers. And I think that's enough numbers for the moment. Well, I say enough numbers. We're getting into qualifying. It's still about numbers. It's all about lap time. But Jesse Lee, it's on track action for the first time at RCI in 2026. Are you excited?
I'm absolutely excited, Jack. I'm excited to be back at Sebring again. Of course, the very first LMU event that we had, I believe, was at Portimao. But after that, we sort of made our home here at Sebring. I think it's our most featured track. We've had some sort of pseudo endurance here as well. And we're back again, race two different variants here. The school layout. This, of course, is the full track layout, starting with the LMGT3 cars. Looks like we have about 9 of them out there, and I'm just being told that I believe one of the hypercars has been disqualified because they've accidentally gone out too early.
You'd that's been a bit of an issue, not just in this season, but in a couple of others. I would say, oh, you'd think they'd sort of have figured it out by now, but I think benefit of the doubt. New year, unsure of certain things, certain ruling, and maybe they're getting back to it. Not the best start, but Sebring race starts can be a little contentious, so maybe starting from the back of the field might end up paying dividends for the moment. And we're on board now with Zach Vermack. I'm very interested to see because the BOP has been rather shaken up in the GT3 field. It used to be the BMW that was the king of the field, and really front engine cars in general were the best cars to be in. And lately, it's completely flipped on its head. It's all the mid-engine cars. The McLaren, exceptionally quick. The Lamborghini might actually be the quickest car of them all. Best sounding car, by the way. Personal favorite of mine. Really glad that it's competitive because it wasn't for a really long time. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, qualifying will give us a good idea of if the BOP is going to swing some cars in a couple different directions, Jesse. But for the moment, it's still BMW topping the charts.
Yeah, it is BMW topping the charts. Zach Vermack, of course, in P2 as well. But no, you're absolutely right. You talk about the midships spoiling the party a little bit. Heck, I was racing around here about a month ago. I was doing some damage in the Porsche as well. So it has been sort of a huge swing. I've not driven the McLaren much around this joint, but I've been beaten by several of them. BMW's sort of less so, but we'll see if there has been a little bit of a shift here. We'll see what the favorite is. Of course, LMU is ever expanding and evolving simulator. They update, it feels like, at least every week. Even if that's not true, it feels like there's something new with the tire tread, something new with the physics data that comes out, and it completely changes how you rethink it. Right now, though, Whitburn over top Vermack, Janowski, the top three in LMGT3 qualifying, a 201.637, the mark to beat. But Jacob Janowski looking to take the top spot. Does he do it? Janowski does take the top spot provisionally away, a 201.449, the new mark to beat. That puts Whitburn down to P2 and Vermack to third. Rybecki Watts the top five. Look at Tom Watts in the top five in Split 1 LMGT3.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think we're getting a little bit of a BOP swing. Things are sort of starting to happen here and there, but sorry about that. Had a bit of tech issues on my end. It's not anybody's fault except my own. I pressed too many buttons, and apparently I pressed the wrong one. But no, it's. I mean, it's a very BMW heavy field, and we say that when the BOP's swung, the BMW is still very quick. It's not like it's become a tractor overnight. And after all, it is down to the skill of the driver. The pace of the car might help, but it is down to the driver, and we've got some absolutely fantastic drivers. And as I alluded to, Lamborghini's quick, and Matt Whitburn is also a very quick driver, very striking looking. Big fan of that. Love a pink car. And there's a little bit of yellow, a little bit of black on there. Looks good. Sounds even better as he's winding it down towards the hairpin. One of the trickier corners. I think every corner on this circuit is tricky, Jesse. Sebring is known for really one thing, and that's the bumpiness.
Yeah, of course, the final turn is absolutely incredible to go through. The difference between getting it right and getting it wrong could be upwards of a second. Also, getting it wrong could be the difference between being out of the race or not as well. There's a wall that juts out, and even if you steer clear of that, there's one final bump as you exit onto the pit straight or the start-finish straight. And if you get that wrong, you're into the wall anyway. And we've seen races ended in both iRacing and LMU immediately in that particular corner. It doesn't matter what class you're in today. I will say, because this is multi-class racing, it is going to be trickier indeed. Matt Whitburn is fighting Janowski and Vermack for the pole position. Whitburn has just gone quickest of all in sector 1 and 2. Jackie's on a tear. Can he keep it together for that final turn we were just talking about?
Yeah, we'll see. Sunset Bend is the name. It's the creator or ruiner of champions, and we'll see.
Oh, there it
Fighting the
is. There it
car
is.
hugely through there. He just caught a little bit of a bump, taking a narrower line in. The car jumping up and down, but keeps it out of the wall. We'll see. It is a loss of time. All of that time he gained, pretty much, I can guarantee, in that corner, but he's got time for one more lap as the hypercars begin to roll out. It's a split qualifying, as a reminder. 10 minutes for the GT3s, 10 minutes for the hypercars. So as soon as that timer drops down in about 2 seconds, those hypercars are going to roll onto the field. And we'll see Jake Janowski right now in P3, not quite lighting up the times in the first or second sector. Maybe can get the third sector wrong. There is a lot of time in these last couple of corners. He's reaching the Le Mans curve, I think such named. Oh, well, I was going to say reaching it at race speed, but I think maybe backing out, thinking that the time isn't there and parking it. Right, Becky's on the circuit, and Whitburn is as well. See what it looks like coming through sector 2. This is the quickest corner of the circuit. It's completely flat out, and it takes you into this kind of, for me, it's an awkward chicane, and it's also got an awkward name. It's called Gendeblend. Don't know what that means, but it's called Gendeblend curve, or Gendeblend bend, sorry. Matt Whitburn has purpled his own fastest sector 2/10 quicker. It's just, is he thinking about sunset? He's down in the second, but I think that's still roughly up on his time, and he knows there's one corner that's got his number there. He's going to fly through the Le Mans curve and onto the Ullman straight, Jesse. Oh, no, it's huge oversteer. I might have spoke a bit too soon there, but it's huge oversteer. But fortunately for Matt Whitburn, I think he's still on the pole.
Yep, it's going to be pole position for Whitburn. That won't matter, though. I would say that he had at least 3 or 4 different tints from all the sectors in the bank, just couldn't quite put it together. That is going to be frightening. Of course, the difference between being able to run the lap and not run the lap is hugely different. And if you are a competitor in LMGT3, you're going to be looking at that and be like, man, that Lambo is quick, but it's all over the place. Maybe we'll have a shot on consistency alone. We shall see. Louis Kinder will be the first driver to set a representative time in their BMW hypercar around here. We were talking about that before we went live on the stream, Jack, weren't we? About these cars, huge slide coming through Sunset.
Oh!
Another one absolutely wicked through the final turn 17 as we come down the pitch straight. But it's still going to be a representative lap time of 47.287. But we were talking about that, Jack. We were talking about who is the king of the mountain in hypercar as far as manufacturer is concerned. You immediately said BMW, and we've got one out there in front right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're still, the BOP hasn't really swung very much in the hypercars. We were talking about at Portimao last time around. We were talking about a lot of the big updates they did for 1.2. Hypercars didn't get as much love, as much updates as the other cars. Yeah, I think Le Mans Curve, I will say, definitely a struggle for me personally. It seems to be a bit of a struggle for a lot of cars. I mean, you're coming into it with such high speed. You know there's a long straight after. You want to maximize both your entry and your exit, and it's a bit easy to get wrong. It narrows more than you'd expect, and hitting that outside curb is almost certain doom as far as lap time. A little bit less dramatic through sunset this time. Louis Kearton showing us, well, how not to do it, but maybe how to win a Formula Drift championship. But Brandon Mercer, that jumps him up to 4th position. Kearton is going faster. I know it does say Kinder. He changed his name at some point. He's waiting to change his name back. That is our good old boy, Louis Kearton, in the car, the French sim racer, lighting up the times.
Certainly is absolutely going for it. Louis Kearton looking to continue to stay hot. They have been just absolutely incredible. All right, Jack, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take the first half of the lap. You're going to take the second half of the lap. Through turn 17, Sunset Bend, this is your track guide for 2026 around Sebring. hit the pit straight, the start finish line into turn number one. It's bumpy, as you can tell. You're going to want to get as close to the wall as you can to get the best run up through turns one and two. So all the way down into first or second gear, probably second in these cars, through turn three, four, and five complex. Then turn six, big bend under the gantry, and down to turn seven, the hairpin. This is a hard section of the racetrack, easy to overdrive, but you're going to go all the way down the slowest point of the racetrack. You're going to want to go straight out of here, turn 8, up Fangio, and into turn 10. Jack, over to you to finish the lap.
Turn 10, a tricky corner at the best of times, sometimes an overtaking corner, but I gotta say, Louis Kearton's brake trace on the right is absolute perfection. His trail braking is almost robotic. He's coming in now to the tower turn onto what I've now learned and is probably now my favorite straight name. It's called the Flying Fortress Straight. This was an airfield after all, and apparently they launched a set of teams off of it. Here he comes into the Gendeblend bend. I would argue one of some of the quickest corners to get right. Very on the edge through the Le Mans curve. He gets it right, not too much curve robbing him of exit speed. He's coming now all the way down the Almond Straight, thinking about that one final corner. It's life or death in Sunset. Brakes super hard, turns in, takes a wider entry, but it then gets him, so he's turned in a bit earlier, running it all the way out to the wall, almost grazing it, and he crosses the line. Louis Kearton improves to a 46.0 on the cusp of a 45. And yeah, I think you should cool down after that lap, Louis Kearton. That was some good stuff.
That was a heck of a lap to commentate because it was the quickest of the day. That 46 has set the tone. Billy Octane in P2, Barnabas Fazekas in third, Verstrepe and Mercier in the top five. Daly just outside of that. Van der Voken in a unusually low seventh place, but I think some of these cars are not here. I'm being told in my ear that potentially we have 7 cars, and that's why Van der Voken and Van Driesche are not out there on the racetrack. But what are some drivers' losses, others gained. Billy Octane looking to improve his personal best, won't be troubling the quickest time for pole position, and won't be troubling his that might be his. Yeah, that's not his quickest. In fact, that's a 49 he just ran. So he's well and truly off of the pace on that lap in the SJ&H Speed Juice machine. But nevertheless, what can we say about close moment there by Verstappen? But Jack, I was just going to say, what can we say about Louis Kearton and what they've done? Well, I thought maybe early in the season they may have been in a little bit of trouble with some of these other drivers, but no, in the last couple of rounds has absolutely taken this championship into their own hands.
Yeah, I don't know if it was maybe just not being super confident on the on Silverstone. Could be. I mean, it is one of the newer circuits. Well, when this series started, it was the newest circuit, and then they went ahead and dropped the bomb that is Paul Ricard on us. I think not a lot of people have driven hypercars. Maybe Louis Kearton wasn't at his best, but I mean, Zeno Van Driesche, Van der Weken are some of the guys that we're possibly missing unless they jump in very late, and they're not going to be scoring any points today if that's the case. And it's well, if Louis Kearton does well today, keeps it out of the wall, keeps it out of specifically the barrier at Sunset, we'll be on for a good points haul and a good charge into that championship. We're on board with Jordan Daly now, one of our oldie but goodies for RCI and very new to LMU, figuring things out, but clearly getting up to speed quickly. 4th position for Jordan Daly at the moment.
Daly, of course, you mentioned that earlier, partner, when we were looking at the results. They sort of had a great round number 3, which is the complete polar opposite of what we saw rounds 1 and 2. So that was looking good. And you wonder if that was a flash in the pan, or maybe, to your point, was he getting a sort of a hold on these hypercars? And I think the answer is yes. They just ran their quickest lap of the session of 46. Louis Kearton's going to go off and into the barrier, and that's going to end their qualifying. And that's a little bit troubling now, Jack, because Billy Octane is still out there on the racetrack, and he's only a 10th behind. He's not, I'm just told. Octane's back in the pit lane. Christopher Strepa might be the only one left out there, so might be uh, Louis Kirton is going to get away with another pole here, as if that was a scary moment. But nonetheless, you'd rather have that happen in qualifying than the race.
Yeah, that's usually what how I think about it. It's like, oh, absolutely, you have a good lap in, you have a good banker, you have a good, you're feeling all right. Let's push it way too far. Let's see if we can find more time, and I think that's what Louis Kierton was doing. Unfortunately, got away with it. Christopher Strapen maybe quickest in the first sector. It's kind of the sector timing for LMU can be a little bit wonky. I don't think that was the quickest first sector, considering he was plus instead of minus on time, but still showed up purple. Don't know. Maybe we just like the color purple. But Christopher Streppen is the last of the hypercars, the last of the field on the circuit. And I think he's decided, well, I don't think I have enough time to jump a position, and everybody's waiting on me. So I guess let's hurry this up, shall we? But I think I gotta say, Jesse, I'm a big fan of Sebring. I'm a Florida boy. I enjoy it. I think we're in for a good race here.
I think you're absolutely right. Results of qualifying, starting with the hypercars, Louis Kirton on pole over Billy Octane. They'll share the front row. Barnabas Fazekas and Jordan Daly in row number two. Christophe Estrepa and Brandon Mercier are the next row, and the six hypercar drivers here today.
We also have the surprise Gurgly Goy. We're gonna go Gurgly Goy. That's a new driver for us this season. They did get DQ'd by going out a bit too early, but they will be joining the back of that field. It's Matt Whitburn who put it on the pole in the Lamborghini. It was a bit close on qualifying, and we've briefly lost the moment. This session has switched over, so it's decided to delete itself. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's 2026, and we're still experiencing just LMU things. And, you know, it's Ted saying that he's not, it's a new one and he's not fond of it. And I have to entirely agree, but that's all right. We'll go through the starting order. That'll give you the piece of the puzzle that we're missing as far as the GT3 field. And as a reminder, every car that you see that shows up in that black sort of raw carbon look, that's a custom livery. Lots of custom liveries we're seeing on the field. And Jesse, I know you agree with me. It's always good to see people having custom cars, unique looks for championships such as this.
You said it, partner. We love to see that. We love to see the creativity. We love to see racing on the racetrack, good, hard, competitive, but also fair racing. But at the same time, I also like a good livery. And I was going to say earlier when the LMGT3s were qualifying, I saw an anime livery out there in the field as well. So we'll probably get a better look at that at some point as well. But yeah, always good to have the custom liveries. Jack, while we have a moment, the drivers putting in their final preparations to do battle here at Sebring for round four of the multi sprint championship. I've got to ask you this question. If you are Louis Kirton and you're out front in the championship and you're out front here in quali, what's your mission objective here today? I mean, clearly keep it out of the walls, but that's a little bit easier said than done at a place like Sebring.
I mean, Louis Kierton seems to be the kind of driver that is going to maximize every single race, sort of leave it all out on the circuit. But if I were them, maybe there were some struggles early on. Maybe you lose a position or two off the start. I'd maybe drop back, take it a bit easy, bring in that points haul, and stretch the championship lead. But well, it is worth saying that I sort of I know the feeling, and being on pole like that. Maybe you leave it all out there. But Jesse, since you're asking me, I'll ask you the exact same question as we're being treated to the first ever Ted Edwards LMU drone cam, and bear with us. He's a learned pilot. He's trying to figure it out. Drones are tricky, folks. But Jesse, what do you think? If you were Louis Kierton, same question. What is your strategy as you're getting ready to start this race?
Yeah, I think for Louis Kirton, I think it's a little bit different than some of the other drivers. I think if you're Billy Octane, you can sort of afford to sort of relax a little bit, give up a little bit. But if I was in Louis Kirton's ear, if I was his engineer right now, I'd be telling him like, look, it doesn't matter. This race is likely not going to be decided on raw pace. It's going to be decided either on pit strategy or whoever keeps it on the racetrack the most. That's just the nature of Sebring. It isn't a straightforward race like you might expect it to be. I- This race is so very often settled by who keeps the car the absolute cleanest. So we'll see if that's the case. I would tell him patience is absolutely a virtue here today. Here's the thing, Jack. Louis got everything going right. They've got the pole position, they've got the championship lead, their nearest rivals aren't here today. All of that into consideration, just be patient, be easy, get the tires up to temp. Don't push too hard. This place will bite back.
No, I think that's absolutely the way to go. And before we get rolling on this, as a reminder, we do have two splits in this series, and they've wrapped up their qualifying, getting ready to start their race. I'll give you the top three in each class as they're starting their quick formation. It's Nicholas Keller, Thomas Walters, and Martine Mares in the top three in the hypercars, and it's Matt Malcolm, Luke Pavin, and Joe Dauber in the top three in the LMGT3 field. I will give race updates when I can for that. We love showing our love for Split 2 as much as Split 1. It is very nice to see having enough people to fill out two entire splits on signups entirely. And here is the absolute slowest you're going to be seeing these cars take this corner, and easily the most comfortable. I wish you could take it at this speed regularly. It is a menace, and there's nothing like seeing a yellow flag when you're about to enter sunset. And people who've driven this circuit enough know exactly what I mean when I say that. But hopefully, we won't have any of that today. Hopefully, we get some clean, hard, and fantastic racing. We're getting ready to roll. It's green flag. Off we go. Louis Kirton leading the field, getting a good enough start going into turn one. Turn one is a tricky corner to go through. That's Barnabas Fazekas maybe thinking about a move up the inside of Billy Octane. Octane keeps it wide. We have a little bit of RG Bargy in the rear. The LMGT3 is in the background, going through cleanly as well. Matt Whitburn still leading that pack, but a mostly solemn start for the hypercars. Fazekas did jump Billy Octane in the start, and here's Jordan Daly, who lost a position on the start, maybe thinking about grabbing that back in the braking zone from Christopher Strafen. Not quite this time, but Strafen goes deep on the brakes, and that's very deep for Mercier in the background, but quickly getting back on the circuit and getting back rolling again. Definitely, I prefer to see quieter starts on a circuit like Sebring. Yes, you may agree or disagree with me, but we are here for a good time, not a long time.
No, I absolutely agree. I think a lot of people like having a rambunctious start to a race, but I would counter that point with the more mild the start is, the better the racing is throughout the entire venue, because the field is still quite compact. And I think you saw a little bit of that there. Everybody was so accordion together that Brandon Mercier went off the racetrack a few times. And I believe we just saw Goy in the background go off of the racetrack there. That will be a track cut. So that will count towards their track cut to sort of limit that they don't want to get over. Of course, if they go over a threshold, that will get them a drive through penalty. And that's what you don't want to have happen, but it can happen here, despite the fact that you don't usually associate this place with a track that you can go off in that manner. You really can, especially in sector 3. It's actually quite easy if you're in the tow of another car and your arrow's not as great, or maybe you're trying to outbrake somebody. Quite easy to get those off tracks in turns 15 and 16. First lap done, no major incidents here. Looks like Louis Kirton out in front in the hypercar class, and Whitburn leading them in the LMGT3 category. Behind them in the LMGT3 category, though, Jacob Janowski trying to work their way around Tom Watts.
And we have that, as well as Matteo Venuti trying to make their way through. It's it's a midship versus a front engine car. We'll sort of see how it looks. The McLaren is known for actually now being quite the fast car in a straight line. That used to be a crown only held by the BMW. We'll see if Matteo decides to sort of stick a nose in the braking zone. Doesn't quite. You do want a little bit of overlap. The corner narrows so quickly, and you sort of turn in a bit early as well. It's tough to go for a late move. It's a bit unsafe, some might argue, to go in for that late move. But that's Wojciech Becky, who is just ahead. Maybe didn't have the best start. And I'm noticing as well, Reese Wilkinson, who I know we had on circuit, at some point is in the pit lane. And I would assume that maybe is a well, I was going to say it's an early DNF. We're hearing that he never actually started the race. Maybe it was a uh, it could have been a hardware issue. I think early in the stream we saw him in the wall in qualifying, just kind of sitting there. So we'll see. Uh, well, I guess we won't see what they have to do for today, but we still have some good cars in action. Some good action. It's still Whitburn leading the field, not quite running away with it. Quite like how Louis Kieran is doing in the hypercar. But, well, we're about to wrap up lap 2, and no major drama so far.
Yeah, all the drama happening in split 2 by the sound of it. Jack, Matt Malcolm going in our chat to tell us that they didn't even make it through turn number 1 in split 2. 2 races in a row, both times with terminal damage. Huge incident there. Huge incident here in split 1.
Oh, that's a big incident for Matteo Venuti. That might be the first incident into sunset we see. We're going to get on the replay now. Oh, is he going to tag the wall? Oh, tags the wall. Gets a bit too greedy on the power, and that just sort of bounces them into, well, the entry for the IMSA pit lane, which those of you who are very familiar with Sebring might be like, hey, why is that not the pit lane? Well, it's because when WEC used to race here, IMSA would be in that pit lane, so they had to make their own pit lane. But that may be race done for Matteo Venuti, and the first bit of carnage on a, well, a circuit that breeds carnage, but it's still Matt Whitburn leading out front. Venuti hasn't DNF'd quite yet, as I'm hearing, is he's in the pit lane, so I guess has the option to rejoin, maybe. Not sure. They are in the pit box, so unsure of that. Maybe they'll reappear at some point during this race. A couple of laps down, but a driver who's had not the most gracious of starts is Christopher Streppen. Maybe Ted's going to go, well, I was going to say, going to go replay hunting. Didn't need to go far. It was through that Gendebien bend that got unsettled. Maybe going on the curb. And that is, well, one of the rules, Jesse, you know, is to join safely, rejoin safely, or resafe jointly, as some people like to say. And that was not perhaps the most safe way to do that.
Yeah, Vestrepa just gets on the curb there, and he's going to rejoin, and he sees back down where he was, and there's nobody there. But by the time he gets the car rolling, it's a blind corner, and Brandon Mercier comes out of the blind spot. And I think Vestrepa saw him at the last minute and had a Code Brown moment and put it off to the right of the track to get out of Mercier's way, just in case they got through. Oh, Mercier climbing the curb. That will do the underside of that car no favors, and maybe the tires too if you slide them. But still, that was a scary moment. Again, Vestrepa saw, you could clearly see from the in-car cam, there was no Ferrari in his picture. But that's only because Mercier hadn't made it to that part of the racetrack. I think that Vestrepa thought that he was good. It's just one of those things, like you say, it's just so quick around here.
So I do have news. I have access to the split 2 session, and I was just curious what happened to Matt Malcolm. And it's nothing of his own fault. He's going through turn 1, leading the pack, and there happens to be a Ferrari hypercar. There was a big multi-car accident in turn 1 for the hypercars. I think it might have been, well, I'm actually not sure what hypercar that is, but he lost his front right wheel. He got tagged going through turn 1, and, well, if you were lacking a wheel, kind of lacked the ability to turn and just carried on straight into the wall for Matt Malcolm. So a bit of heartbreak. I genuinely hope that next time goes well. We've seen some lap one incidents in this series. My mind immediately goes back to Jesse. I think you know where I'm going to go with this in Portimao. Last time out, our pole sitter didn't even make it to turn one. Their pit limiter didn't disengage, and well, everybody else behind started the race. Let's just say that, and well, it's a bit ugly. Didn't end well, but that was then, and this is now, and we're still here making our way through almost through the first 8 or so minutes, first handful of laps, and the fields are sort of starting to spread out. Some decent fights. It's now BMW on BMW, Rybecki versus Watts, and we'll see how this begins to shake out.
Yeah, Jack, they say the safest place on a racetrack is in the garage, and that's true. It doesn't matter if it's on the starting grid or halfway into the race. If you're not in the garage, nothing is safe out there, and anywhere on the racetrack could be a potential problem. And whenever you are sort of your least on guard is when it tends to happen, of course. And the closer to the beginning of the race, it seems also is an issue, and it has been for Matt Malcolm. Two races on the trot where they've exited lap number one in split two. Meanwhile, split number one, Louis Kirton continues to drive away from Barnabas Fizikis. Billy Octane settling into third with Daly in fourth. Goya in fifth place. Vestrepa and Mercier, we saw that their issues earlier on, of course. Matt Whitburn continues to lead in LMGT3 over Vermack and Janowski. And what a race this would be for Matt Whitburn. Of course, we've still got 80 minutes left to race here, Jack, but Matt Whitburn needs this. Of course, we talk about Whitburn sort of arriving on the RCI scene, and now had a third place at round number 3 of this LMU multi-sprint championship. A win today would be a huge shot in the arm for that driver.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing that sort of gives you confidence in a sim. I mean, I'm sure I would assume Matt Whitburn, since he could have been driving LMU before, but it seems like maybe things are still getting sorted out. I mean, it could be the swing of the balance of performance, but I like to believe that it is the swing of the skill of a driver. He's feeling good today, and there is nothing like a pole that gets converted into a win to give a driver confidence. That sort of means that you are the quickest driver on the circuit, and nobody's out there to beat you. But it's, as Ted Edwards likes to say, it's sniffing time. We're right on the back of Tom Watts, and that you see that there's Rybecki maybe thinking about a move into turn one. Is that the anime that you were talking about? I think you're absolutely right, Jesse. That is an anime, and possibly an anime fight winding up. Here comes Rybecki on the inside, and he's thinking about it. Watts keeping it clean, giving each other space. He's trying to squeeze him out of the corner. He does just enough, but bad news for Rybecki is Watts is in the tow on this long back straight coming down towards the hairpin. We'll see. Does Rybecki go defensive? He doesn't. He actually sticks on the line. Competent on the brakes. Maybe we'll see. Watts maybe not far enough to get alongside. Isn't on the exit. That is some very clean and very fair racing from the pair. And it's back to the hypercar. Here comes Christopher Strapen. A little bit of a lockup. A little bit of a forcing wide on Roy there on the exit. But I think Christoph is spurred on by the mistake early in the race. It's time to climb back up and get back into the fight for the top 5.
Yeah, just going back to the Rybecki Watts fight in LMGT3, and I don't know, it is an anime car, but the most annoying thing to me would be to be passed by a car that has a peace sign on the side. That is insult to injury for Tom Watts. But no, it was a good fight. It was a good, clean fight. It was fair. Proper space was given, and even if you get your fenders together a little bit, it's Sebring. You know, it's a track that's going to breed that sort of contact anyway. But still, it was very respectful racing. You could tell it by how they were trying to pull that off, and in fact, they did indeed. Fight for P1, though, still well and truly on in the LMGT3 field. Matt Whitburn leads Zach Vermack, but Vermack has found a little something extra here, has never been too far behind Whitburn since the start, has to be said, but now starting to close in, reeling in the leader a little bit here.
Yeah, he is doing. We see a brief yellow flag. Maybe something popped up. We hear a noise from the Edwards man, and it might have been Brandon Mercier. We're back to replay hunting. We're hearing he was missing a wheel at some point. Oh! That's into the pit
Oh
lane.
my
That's into the
gosh.
pit entry. I was thought he was going to hit the sooner than that, but got a bit out of shape coming into Gendibien, and well, couldn't really counter steer. And that is a really, really big impact. And I'm going to assume possible terminal on the engine front. We'll see what the inputs look like. Oh, just tries to counter steer, but there's really nothing you can do. And that engine, don't think it's making any more noise. I don't think that Ferrari power unit has any more power or unit left in it. That is a DNF for the Ferrari driver. But we're back to the fight up at the front. Vermac reeling in slowly. Maybe Matt Whitburn sort of moderating his pace just a little bit, trying to keep the tires alive longer. Maybe it's a pace thing, but through sector 3, Vermac seemed to have a lot more speed, and you can see that gap closing. It is the top speed battle. And Sunset's coming up. Not a corner you want to be overtaken, really overtaking in. We have the hypercars coming through just to add insult to injury. Well, not insult to injury. Add a little bit of excitement, maybe a little bit of complication. The arrow washed deep from that car, but Vermac did not get close enough into Sunset. We'll see turn 1. I think it's Whitburn on the exit having the better. Maybe the top speed is actually in favor of the Lamborghini this time around, which you told me that like a month ago, I wouldn't believe you. The Lamborghini was horrific in a straight line. Here comes Barnabas Fazekas in P2 in the hypercar field, leading these two through Sector 1. Definitely glad that Barnabas got through there. Sticking behind GT3s in the entirety of Sector 1 is, well, it stinks. It quite literally just stinks, Jesse. And nothing doing so far. We'll see how Billy deals with these two in the hairpin.
He's going to have to get held up here is what he's going to have to do, Jack. There's just no space down in the hairpin now. He can swing out here and get around, and that's, in fact, what he's going to do. I was going to compliment Whitburn and Vermac here for what they've been able to do. They're racing each other. They're sort of feeling each other out, but they also were very smart with how they allowed the hypercar traffic to go through. They were also lucky how they got caught as well, but even still, whenever it wasn't nicely done there by Billy Octane, realizing that, yeah, he could have probably forced it in there, but that doesn't benefit anybody. Traffic giveth, traffic taketh, that sort of thing. But for the LMGT3s, that could have been way hairier than it actually was, especially going through Sunset, then turns 3, 4, and 5. But they were able to let the top 3 or so hypercars through, and look at this. Let that be a lesson to everyone at home. These leading drivers battling for the lead in their class let the hypercars through, didn't damage or interrupt their battle in the slightest. They're still close, they're still fighting for it, and all anyone had to show was a tiny bit of patience.
And I think that is a lesson to every driver, regardless of where they race, what they race, any sort of multi-class format. Patience is a virtue. We're going to see maybe a little bit of patience for Jordan Daly here. No, I think he has the overlap coming into turn 1. He maybe isn't the most patient driver. It actually might have done Whitburn a little bit wrong. Maybe he wasn't expecting a BMW inside of there. I was going to say Daly had a bit of a lockup, but, you know, that's multi-class. Take a thing away there from Matt Whitburn. He loses out to Zach Vermaak at the exit of turn 1. I was going to say maybe he wasn't aware that there was a BMW coming through, compromised his entry just a bit. Maybe unsettled him a little bit. We'll see what he can do on the brakes. Oh, the Huracan has such good brakes, I must say. That's something it's always had. Vermaak's a little bit loose on the exit, but around the outside of the hairpin is absolutely immense. These two are going to need to sort of see. That's such great sort of, well, I mean, sort of racecraft in a way. He could have stayed out,
right
but
there.
a little bit of a touch there, but for Zach Vermack to sort of have the wherewithal to be like, I'm going to tuck back in, let this hypercar go through. Well, did the hypercar get it quite right on the brakes? Maybe not. Here comes Vermack sticking a nose in. Oh, these two are absolutely getting after it here.
Yeah, they're absolutely getting after it, but the most important thing is that they're keeping it off of each other. There's a little bit of contact with that hypercar coming through. I don't think that was anyone's fault, no harm, no foul. And Zach Vermack was all over the back of Whitburn right there. But you could tell just by the way that Zach was driving, didn't want to get into Whitburn, doesn't want to take it by force like that, wants to race him clean, and in fact, maybe even let off just a little bit in my guesstimation there in the middle sector just to get back behind him to not be out of sorts. And they'll reignite this
Oh,
fight again. Looking down to the inside of Sunset, they're going to be side by side coming to the flag this time.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's so interesting to see. It's sort of it's almost give and take in every corner. I'd be like, oh, maybe Vermack's better here, maybe Whitburn's better there, but it's sort of it's almost lap depending. I think these two are on the ragged edge of what they're able to do in these cars. And Janowski going a bit wide in the background, but it's so tight between the two. We'll see. Zach Vermack really pushing now. He saw the moment. He overtook earlier. He knows now that he has the pace to get through. He knows he can do it. But the take back from Whitburn was definitely a bit of a statement. You can see the gap is opening up just a bit on the straight there, and I think maybe that's the answer to my question that I've been wondering honestly for the past couple of weeks is the Huracan fast in a straight line? I'm not the right kind of driver to get the pace out of it, so I wouldn't know. And no one better than Matt Whitburn to show me how it's done in this piece of machinery. But Zach Vermack is also showing that the BMW may be not the pick of the litter anymore, but it can be taken right to the ragged edge with the very best.
Yeah, and for Vermac here, you're going back to school here. You're learning every single lap. Everything that didn't work in that previous lap where he tried to overtake Whitburn for the lead, you put that in your memory bank. You go, okay, that's not going to work. You're studying what the Lamborghini's doing, as there is a local yellow flag out there, and it is Jordan Daly.
Yep, that's sunset there, and well, fortunately, it looks like all the bits are still attached on the car. That's the important bit. He is going to lose out that position to Goy, and we'll see. I mean, the car looks reasonably settled, so I think there's no big damage. He got through a lot quicker than Goy. Let's see if. Well, I was going to say the braking zone's not really long enough to make a move, but he's thinking about it. Here comes Jordan Daly in the first sector. They're giving each other just enough space. Oh, Goy goes a little bit wide, neutralizes that fight. I think they gave each other enough space. I think Goy maybe was trying to avoid any sort of side to side contact and ran a bit wide. Oh, well, there's our answer to why Jordan Daly was a bit backwards. And well, it is sunset after all. Let's see, pitches it into a bit of a drift, and oh, it's coming off that big bump on the apex and just keeps it out of the wall. It was far enough into the corner. It was able to lose just enough speed. Well avoided. That could have been catastrophic for Jordan Daly, but well avoided and well overtaken, I must say.
Yeah, that could have been way worse. That could have been instant day over right there. If you back it into the wall, the entire rear clip's going to come off of that car at that speed, and you're going to have to limp around the entire length of the track, aren't you? So that's going to be a bit of a day ender for Daly, but because he was able to stop the car, he is able to get back into the fight and immediately retake P5 for that time being. But the damage to the tires certainly the biggest issue there. But again, that part could have certainly been worse.
Yeah, and I think it was very good. We'll see here. There is just enough space given, only just, but it does sort of, I think, push Goya a little bit off the circuit there. But, it was a as you said, Jesse, it could have been absolutely catastrophic, but it wasn't. And quickly reasserting position 5 for the moment, Vermac has dropped off the back of Matt Whitburn. Maybe overwork the tires a bit, maybe dropping into a fuel safe strategy, or maybe making mistakes. I mean, fights like that when you're absolutely pushing to the maximum to overtake, especially for a win, you take a lot out of a driver. Sometimes maybe all you need is to back off, reassert, sort of figure out what you need to do to get the best out of the car again, cool everything down, and then maybe he'll come back on the charge a little bit later. We have just passed the 1 hour mark. Believe it or not, we're already 23 minutes into this hour and 20-minute race, but it's still Louis Kearton and still Matthew Whitburn leading both of their fields. Those are our pole sitters. And Louis Kearton, well, he's at the moment just a bit running away with it as the BMW dances through sunset right up to the edge on the exit. Actually, I think he could have gotten a little bit closer to the wall, Jesse. I don't know. I think there's more time there. There's more lap time there. He should push it even harder. That's a joke.
Yeah. Yeah, I could tell you're joking, but I agree with his driving. You can see it in the way he's driving the car. He's not maximizing. He's driving to 95, 98% of what Louis can do. And that's kind of what you need to do here. He's still hitting curbs, so he's not in full save mode. He's only got about a 3 second lead, 2.5, 3 second lead as we go on board with Louis Kearton. So he's not got the huge gap. We have seen him pull large gaps in the past, not doing that here in the first 25 minutes of this race. Everyone keeping him a little bit more earnest here at Sebring. I think that's also a nature of the racetrack too, whenever you drive a little bit more conservative than you otherwise would do. But this is exactly what the doctor ordered. I told you at the start, before, when we were sitting on the grid, what would my advice be to Louis Kearton if I was his engineer? Exactly this. Drive to 95, 98% of your ability. Don't make mistakes. Don't overexert yourself. Don't go for that extra tenth. It doesn't matter. What's more important is knowing that you're probably the fastest driver on this racetrack, and that is what is most important. You got to keep the car in the race to be the fastest driver, and that's exactly what he's doing today.
You'd think that, Jesse, you've engineered in the past for certain
That's
esports
crazy.
drivers, but
Yeah,
I don't know. It's interesting to me. You seem to be wise beyond your years, and but no,
I
I think
appreciate that.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that's great advice, and I think Louis Kearton, whether or not he's actually listening to you, clearly is just listening. Well, maybe he has somebody with him, but he's doing exactly what he needs to do. But I mean, Barnabas Fazekas is a driver who he's in a reasonable spot in the championship. He's in a very good championship contention. Honestly, when this season started, I saw the Alpine. I said, all right, bit of an interesting car choice, bit of a sort of underdog of a car, but clearly Barnabas being comfortable in it. It was P3 at Portimao, maybe P2, not 100% sure, and maybe looking for another podium at least, but who knows, maybe later in the stage, later in the race, tires start to go off, fuel starts to lessen, may find some greater pace, maybe have to apply some pressure on Louis Kearton, but still powering the French mobile all around southern Florida today. And great, clean racing so far. We've seen Billy Octane in third as well. Another driver that just, well, Billy's always been quick, let's be honest here, but he's sort of come alive. He's come alive a bit in the middle bit of this season. Round one, round two, not exactly special drives, but for the moment, he's in P3 in what we like to call the John Dalton zone, which is nothing behind you, nothing really ahead of you. It's just you in an empty circuit. And I would like to think, Jesse, please let me know what you think, but I feel like that's one of the most difficult positions to be in on a circuit is how do you put in great, consistent laps on a difficult circuit when you have no point of reference and you're not really chasing anything?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. When you're in the John Dalton zone, whenever you're not chasing or being chased, you kind of get lulled in that false sense of security. Your mind starts to wander. You're not as focused. You're not as sharp. And it can lead to mistakes. That's absolutely a problem that you have to solve. And you can't solve that problem until it happens to you a bunch. And then you sort of wise up and realize, okay, I have to remain focused no matter if even if what I'm doing isn't the most exciting, because it is the moments where you drop your concentration just a little bit, take your eye off the ball, so to speak, that's when you get yourself into trouble. But you're also right too, Jack, that Billy Octane, this is sort of a return to form, known as a great ACC driver, making his way in LMU. It's been a rocky road thus far for Billy Octane, but maybe has got the better of it, posting a podium in the last round as well. Just been told though, Jordan Daly has retired from the race.
Yeah, we'll see. We're doing the old replay hunt, seeing what happened. Nothing doing so far. Oh, please don't tell me. Oh no. Oh that. Well, looking good so far. Oh, getting a little out of shape. Oh, he just tags the. No, no. Oh, that was a big one. I was gonna say it looks like he was sort of edging towards the wall, and it looks like he taps it, maybe damages the rear suspension, and then the car just kind of suddenly. Oh well, there's a bit of steering input, and drove it into the wall. Not sure if he. That's saying maybe he did that on purpose. I don't know, but we'll see what that looked like from Goy, his earlier combatant. And yep, that's not really something you want to see coming through the final corner. But fortunately, the BMW came to a stop. But an unfortunate afternoon, an unfortunate day for Jordan Daly here at Sebring.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of frustration coming out, as there's another local yellow out there, and it is for Tom Watts. Tom Watts is sitting into the tire pack.
Yep, I think we've faced yet another DNF. Unfortunately, we'll see. Oh no, please don't tell me it's sunset again. Oh no, I think it might be sunset again. It is. Oh well, he. Uh,
Excuse me?
uh, uh.
Excuse me?
I.
What on earth? That
I.
that
Oh.
looks to me.
Just.
That looks to me like that was a mechanical failure, or an electrical failure of some variety, that led to that. Because that is. Let's see. Look, we can kind of see his hands right here, and it.
Well.
Now hold on a minute.
Oh.
I'm gonna put the tinfoil hat on real quick.
All right.
Anyone does he have a pet?
Ooh.
Do you think? Because you know where I'm going with this, right, Jack? Because
do.
that looked like he got distracted in real life.
I think you might be onto something. Maybe. Because I was gonna say it didn't look like it looked like that's sort of that thing. Maybe you reach down next to you, and if you sort of drop your shoulder, well, your other arm comes up, maybe torques the wheel a bit, and at that speed, I think he was doing 240 kilometers an hour. It might have just been enough to unsettle the car in a way that couldn't be caught. The interesting thing was, it sounded like the throttle was still planted mid-spin, so I'm not sure if the throttle maybe got stuck and maybe that was Tom Watts' way of making sure he wouldn't be a problem for any other cars. Maybe he decided to just put it off there in a sort of dramatic fashion. Not sure, but it is a bit interesting to see. Something else is interesting to see. Barnabas Fazekas has closed the gap by about 2 seconds to Louis Kierton. I don't know if I willed this one into existence, but this was something that we've seen in a couple rounds so far. Is towards the end of stints, it seems that certain cars might be quicker. Sounds like Barnabas Fazekas is quicker in multiple sectors, and you can see that gap's already is dropping and dropping more and more. That's a bit interesting how much it's dropping. Is Louis Kierton? I mean, is he going for a massive late save later in the stint? They have the same amount of energy, so I mean, they have to stop in this race regardless. But it is interesting to see suddenly a lot less speed from our current race leader. Seems to have gotten up to speed there or thereabouts. But everything's looking good right now for Barnabas Fazekas. Things sort of shifting at the lead of this race, and maybe we're about to see a fight on our hands, Jesse.
Yeah, we were following Fazekas earlier on, and I was noticing what we were talking about, how Louis Kierton isn't driving to the absolute max of their ability, but I think Barnabas Fazekas is. I think they're driving like a man possessed, very hungry indeed, and they've erased the better part of what was at one point a 4-second gap. And Jack's absolutely right. That gap is now 2 seconds shorter than it was the last time we checked in. It's down to 1.5. It's under 1.5 seconds now. At what point does Louis Kirton step on the gas, so to speak, to try and pull a little bit of a gap? Does he have anything left in the tank? Is this just the natural sort of wear and tear on the tires that this car has? I don't know. We're gonna find out though here shortly on track. I will say Fazekas definitely likes the fact that that BMW is getting bigger at his windscreen.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the gap yet again's dropped another 3 tenths through the first sector. I think you're absolutely right, Jesse. Bernamas Fazekas maybe smelled a little bit of blood in the water and is now going for it. It is interesting yet again in that braking zone that the gap sort of dropped and then came back up again. I'm not sure if the relatives going a bit crazy mid corner, but I mean, Louis Kirton is definitely losing time very consistently on the brakes. Normally I'd be like, oh, maybe it's a mechanical issue with the brakes. Maybe there's brake fade, but well, this is a sim after all, and those things aren't exactly. Well, you can overheat the brakes. You can absolutely cook your brakes, but to do that in about 35 minutes is pretty much unheard of. But there is blood in the water, and the Alpine-driven car, Barnabas Fazekas, is looking. It's a French car potentially about to be versus the French sim racer. So I don't know. Get your baguettes out and start cheering. I don't know.
I I don't even know what to say to that, Jack. So I'll just say that Louis Kirton needs to find a little bit extra. It's sort of stabilized at 1.5 seconds, though it did go down through turn number one that time. Barnabas Fazekas continuing to track down the French driver in the French racing machine. When LMU was in early access, the Alpine was actually pretty formidable, believe it or not. I would say at one point it was the second best hypercar, and it sort of faded a little bit as other cars got added to the simulator. But now I think maybe it's coming back into its own on current patch. And you're talking about brakes earlier, Jack. I just want to touch on something. Am I correct in thinking that LMU got an update recently that allowed the transfer of heat from the brakes into specific parts of the rim and the tire carcass as well, but not in hypercar yet, I'm being told?
Correct. A bit of a moment there for Barnabas, well held, but yes, that is absolutely correct. That's one of the better changes that it brings new feel to how tires get warmed up in the GT and prototype categories. But no, nothing in hypercar yet. Hopefully that should be coming next update. I'm of the mind that hypercars were in the best state of any of the classes, so maybe they can be shown the least amount of love. But it will be interesting to see what happens with that. But well, the gap is starting to sort of stabilize. I think maybe Louis Kirton had a couple of bad laps and sort of figuring it out again, but nothing doing as we cross the 44th minute as the leaders cross the line. It's still Matt Whitburn out in front, and well, there was a fight on briefly, but Zach Vermack has sort of started fading into the back a little bit. I think maybe as the fuel's wearing down, the Lamborghini is getting a bit quicker. Matt Whitburn is also getting quicker as well. I mean, it's who's to say? We are past the halfway point, but if I know anything about racing, especially multi-class, even with a small field, literally anything can happen.
Yeah, you're right about that. And, I hate to say we told you so and we called it, but we absolutely called it. This racetrack chews up and spits out race cars. High attrition rate here already, just halfway into this race. And we've already lost 3 or 4 cars by my reckoning, and all of which have met a unceremonious and sudden stop at the end of one of these unforgiving concrete barriers thus far. And that is the way of Sebring. And in fact, our broadcaster points out that all 4 cars have met Mr. Barrier today, but one of them was lucky enough to escape with all 4 tires. The other 3 all lost at least one particular tire on the car. Very right indeed. Out front, Louis Kirton continues to race Fazekas. That gap was as low as 1.3 seconds. It's now going the other way a little bit, Jack.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'm wondering if Louis Keaton may have been doing a bit of multitasking. Maybe trying to do something else, maybe trying something a bit different on the racing circuit, and it was costing them time. But this is sort of back to the pace that we've been seeing. Maybe also Fazekas could be driving back a little bit, could be making mistakes of their own. Who's to say? But now is a perfect moment since we're at half distance. I'll give you an update on what's going on in the split two field. They are basically just passing half distance, 43 minutes remaining in their race. In the hypercar field, it's Jelmer Maluma who is leading that field. Callum Kerrigan is in P2, and Boris Shekerdejev. I know I brutalized that name, and Boris, I'm sorry, but you're on the podium, so there's your consolation prize for me. Absolutely brutalizing your name. Wait a minute. The change of the lead, a change of the guard in split one. Barnamas Fazekas has overtaken Louis Keaton very quickly and possibly very strangely. Replay hunting time. Huzzah! I don't know what that meant. So, but we'll see here. Louis Keaton's driving very normally. He is leading at this moment. We'll see. Does he make a mistake in the hairpin? Well, yeah, he broke about 100 meters too late. That was interesting. And here comes Fazekas back onto the circuit, says thank you very much. But yeah, you're sort of in a hypercar, especially with how bumpy it is. You want to brake sort of at the 400, maybe a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit later if you're feeling brave. But he slammed on those brakes come the 300 or maybe 250 meters before the corner. And I think, to put my tinfoil hat on, I would argue that maybe I think Louis Keaton might be doing some distracted driving. Or is his head is at least elsewhere. No, sim racing, must be said, it's tough. It is 100% a difficult thing. It's surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, it's a physical thing mentally and physically. And sometimes you get distracted. Sometimes you have moments, and moments like that can decide races. But we do know that Louis Keaton is quite quick, Jesse. And I don't know. I think, I don't think. We definitely have a fight on our hands at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely swung. The pendulum has to the other direction. But I got to say, I think that this is where Barnabas Fazekas wants to be in the lead. And I'm not sure if Louis Keaton is all too comfortable doing the chasing, of course. So I think that maybe Fazekas has Keaton at somewhat of a disadvantage here in the race. Now, whether that car is ailing based on its tire deg, I would imagine is some of the problem here, because certainly the BMW fired off quite nicely in comparison to the Alpine, but now it's swung on the other foot. So if I'm Louis Keaton, I'm just trying to keep this respectable, keep this close, come down the pit lane sometime in the next, I imagine, 10 minutes or so. I would expect the hypercars down the pit lane. Keep it close to that point, and hopefully whatever got them that 4-second lead they had, hopefully they're able to pull that out again and take the fight back to the Alpine and Fazekas.
Yeah, I'm still just sort of. It was definitely an interesting move to see. I mean, you take ultimately. Oh yeah, that was judged. That was probably a bit scary. And you
Did
see
not
the
appreciate
flash.
that. Did
Yeah,
not like that at all.
I mean, you're going through turn one. You're Wojciech Rybacki. You're going through turn one. Suddenly, your radar lights up, and there's a hypercar going about a $1,000,000 around your outside in one of the scarier corners of the circuit. I gotta say, also probably wouldn't appreciate that. You see Barnabas Fazekas through there. You're like, all right, gonna take the corner normally, and suddenly, suddenly, a hypercar emerges, and Wojciech Rybacki probably just being like, well, let's not do that again. But he just also mounts the curb.
Oh no!
Oh, wait.
Yeah, we
Network
did that.
moment.
Yeah, we
Network
did a
moment. We
we
did do that.
oh
Ted
boy,
Edwards
they,
shouting in our ear, that was me, don't worry." And Jesse and I
t
both just experienced heartbreak.
Ted Edwards, doing his magic tricks on stream, scaring, Jack and I half to absolute death. He told us that Rybecki had a moment, and he did. The car definitely hit the curb and wiggled, did the BMW, but, that wasn't at all what he meant. By, sometimes the replay camera does, wacky things when we go to it. So no crash for Rybecki, but certainly the flash of the headlights, Jack, saying to uh, Louis Carton, like, look, that was a little dangerous there. I think more than anything else, or perhaps a hey, you're welcome. I let you sort of go, or I'm racing heads up here a little bit of both, I would imagine. But they both get away with it. But for Barnabas Fazikis, driving away just a little bit over a second here is getting held up by the LMGT3 leading traffic, and that will make the gap come down, and in fact loses 2 to 3 tenths there, did Fazekas, getting around the Lamborghini.
Yeah, that was something that I alluded to early in the race. I think it was the first time the hypercars were coming through, talking about not getting wanting to get caught behind a GT3 through that bit of Sector 1, because honestly, there's really nowhere through. You can maybe sneak through if you want to make the GT3 car not like you very much, but that was very big and costly for Barnabas Fazekas, but not costly enough that Kirton could come and swing and take that position back. But he's back in the slipstream. Maybe we'll see getting towed along. They've cleared the GT3 traffic, so there shouldn't be anything else that comes down between them and their pit stop. So now it's just car on car, driver on driver, pace versus pace for these last couple of laps before the pit stop. I will be interested to see. Talking to a couple of the drivers in the hypercars beforehand, they were saying definitely tires today. But I had the pleasure of engineering for a Sebring endurance race last weekend, and double stinting tires was very possible for 2 full stints. So I'm interested to see who's going to take tires, who's not going to take tires. Maybe that'll swing the lead. It is 12 seconds for a full set of tires. And speaking of tires and pit stops, Jacob Janowski is going to start us off in the pit lane with Wojtek Rybecki parking in, well, seems just ahead. Matt Whitburn continues, maybe carrying a bit. Well, yeah, there's a bit more energy in that Lamborghini, that thirsty V10, but is carrying on for at least another lap.
Looking pretty good for everyone out there. They should be able to make it at least one more lap. I'm pretty sure the leader, the LMGT3 leader, Whitburn, could stay out again if they really wanted to, if they felt that that was advantageous in some way. But the unusual thing here is seeing the two classes pit together. Normally, you see the hypercars in first and the LMGT3s in quite late, but you're seeing a little bit of a mix of the two. Um, Coming together, and that's got to be simple strategic reasons for that. I will ask you this, Jack, as that we expect the leaders to come in the next lap or two. You talk about double stinting tires. What was the pace difference on those tires?
That's a great question, and I truly do not quite remember. I think they were doing 48, 47s on hot stints. But as the fuel came back down on that second stint, they were back up to, I think, our boys driving the Cadillac. It was Callum Kerrigan and Reese Wilkinson, two people that we are very familiar with around here that were driving. They did fantastic, by the way. P2. They were not the second fastest car. It was purely on not making mistakes. I would say on strategy, but no, I didn't help. I probably hurt them. But as the car came back down to low fuel on those double stinted tires, both of them actually were consistently a little bit quicker, which is a bit interesting. I don't know if that was comfort level in the car, but that was when the tires were sort of at their worst. They were still going very quickly. There wasn't a huge uh, time delta, but I don't know, fresh tires for 30 minutes, you can really rag them, as Gary Goy jumps over that curb, ragging his BMW. But it wasn't a big enough pace difference that maybe you could make up 12 seconds in 30 minutes, is what I will say.
There you have it, Engineer Jack, letting you know if you are listening and you haven't done your pit stop yet, food for thought there. Certainly, a couple of cars from the lead have come in the hypercars, as a lot of the hypercars are in now and leaving. Whitburn, Vermac in the pit lane. Um, Vermac's been in the pit lane. I was just going to say, I think they're losing time. That is just my spidey sense, not any particular other thing. That was a little slow for the BMW of Zach Vermack. I wonder if they took a little extra fuel or maybe repaired damage or something to that car. Hard to say one way or the other, but what we can guarantee you is a little bit slower by Vermack there. Barnabas Fazekas into the pit lane from the lead overall in Hypercar. See if Octane follows him in, and does. I don't think they had a choice. And Billy Octane just about got that car stopped in time.
We're going to see it again. Ted Edwards was excited about that pit entry, as I am as well. He was absolutely on the limit. And it is a tricky pit lane to get into. You do sort of have to, if there's a car behind you, you do have to cross the circuit, sort of end up in pit lane. And it's, usually it's you can't cross the white line before entering the pit lane. For whatever reason at Sebring, doesn't matter. Drifts it a bit and, in second gear into the pit lane. That's how you know that it was maybe a little bit on the edge there. But hopefully, fingers crossed, looked like he got it slowed down. Most likely he did. So when Octane comes out, there won't be another penalty. Here comes Louis Kierton retaking the lead of this. Well, I was going to say retaking the lead is very close between the two. Louis Kierton has a bit more temperature in his tires, though. He had that outlap. He's going to go for... Oh, that was about as close as you can get to that out-jutting wall by Barnabas Fazekas. And it was a little bit of an up and under for Louis Kierton. As you're sitting in the pit lane, those tires, they drop in temperature, and you come out onto the circuit. You can see he's trying to put temperature into it. He knows he needs every bit of PSI that he can get. And it's very close on the outside. You know that Kierton is there. He brakes. Car not slowing down. Bit of brown. Lot of brown for Barnabas Fazekas, but just keeps it out the wall. But critically, for Louis Kierton's race, he is back in the lead. 30 minutes remain.
That was as humanly close as you could get to ruining your race and not doing it. For Barnabas Fazekas, they've got to find a way to get back in this race. They had the lead. They lost it by pitting later. Louis Kierton in the lead again, and we expect that BMW to have the pace advantage that it had for the majority of stint one. Of course, stint two here going to be a little bit shorter. Does Barnabas Fazekas have enough time in that Alpine to not only take the gap down, but also battle for the lead a second time? Just about thrown it away, but still all to play for here between the top two and Hypercar.
Yeah, it's all to play for there, but it's not at the moment. Matt Whitburn is out in front in the GT3 field. We're looking through the energy level, and Matt Whitburn took, well, I'd probably say about 10% less fuel, but I don't know if that makes up that time delta that was lost in the pit lane. I'm wondering, maybe the GT cars needed to take tires. Maybe Jacob Janowski decided that that would be where the, well, I should say Janowski probably jumped Vermac either by undercutting, maybe not by taking tires, and I'm wondering if Vermac, getting all crossed up on names here, took tires in their stop. That might be why they draw back, or as you said, Jesse, could have been a damage repair. Maybe that's what happened. mid-race when they started losing pace. Maybe they clipped a wall somewhere. Maybe they caught a little bit of damage. And 12 seconds is the gap that you lose for tires, which is why I'm sort of led to believe that maybe that's what it is: taking tires, taking extra fuel, and another sort of critical pit lane strategy decision that has shaken up some of the top positions in our race so far.
Yeah, it's hard to say in Vermac's case what exactly happened in that pit stop. We don't exactly know what they did when they were sitting sedentary in the box. We obviously know that they refueled the fuel and the virtual energy in that car, but did they take tires? Did they take damage repair that we didn't see them pick up at some point? And if they did take a damage repair, was that accidental? Very easy in LMU to fix damage that you actually don't want to fix, because the box will sort of recheck itself, kind of how iRacing does sometimes. And if you're not babysitting the box by telling it, no, I don't want to fix damage, it will do that by default. Because it defaults into fixing it. So a lot of different possibilities, but what we can tell you is Vermac lost time. We documented that. That has put Janowski up into P2 by some distance. We do also know that Matt Whitburn took less fuel in pit lane than P2 and 3, and that is what's afforded them quite a sizable lead here in the final 26 minutes of the race. The question in LMGT3 now becomes, does Janowski have anything for Whitburn? Does Vermac have enough time to at least get back to P2? It's 19 seconds, the better part of, between Vermac and Whitburn now. I don't think that Vermac, unless Whitburn has a humongous issue, which, again, we've seen 4 or 5 cars have today. I don't think Vermac has a chance at the lead, but Vermac may still have a shot at a P2 here if we're thinking about championship standings.
Yeah, I mean, well, he wasn't gaining early on in the lap, but now he's closed about 6 to 8 tenths on Janowski towards the very end of this lap, getting the car back up to appropriate running temperatures. It is critical that those tires be in the right window. I mean, well, I say critical, it's not quite as critical as ACC, but as long as they're not cold, they're in pretty good shape in LMU. Outlaps, though, basically the hardest thing in the entire world. It's still Barnabas Fazekas chasing down Louis Kierton. Well, the gap was about 2 seconds last time we looked, and it is still about 2 seconds. But we know if last stint was anything to go off, that as the cars start to get lower in fuel, Fazekas will start to close in. But there is plenty of time, but there isn't too much time for these drivers to sort out who the winner of today's race will be. But some great moments so far, Jesse. Some lots of brown. I think if there was a color for this race, if we had a race color, I think it'd be brown. I think brown. I'm sticking with brown.
Did you hear? Because you know how like every generation. Welcome to the RCI podcast. Did you hear? Like that like every generation has like a color tone that they're associated with. Like the 70s, for instance, is brown, right? You know that a lot of furniture is brown, et cetera, and so forth. Did you know that my generation is gray? Isn't that the most depressing thing you've ever heard?
Possibly, yeah. Do you know what my generation, what the Zoomers, do we have a color yet? Have they decided?
I don't know. Are you old enough to own furniture? I don't know.
Yes, I would just like to point out I've furnished my entire 2-bedroom apartment. Thank you very much. Was a lot of that furniture my parents and stuff that I got handed down? Yes. Is a lot of it brown? Yes, but
let me guess what how, they were probably our age in the 70s, right? So there you go. That's the 70s was brown. We had like I think it went vibrant for a while. Remember the early 2000s was like chartreuse colors. And now it's back around to silver and gray. Oh no.
Oh,
the Mercedes is off.
That's Jacob Janowski.
It is
missing a rear wing. that was the car that was up into second position. We were watching Barnabas Fazekas making his way through the LMGT3 traffic, and well, he made his way past this car. We'll see Jacob Janowski coming through Sunset. Fortunately, not another sunset incident, but is it turn one maybe? Oh, yeah, yeah. It's just maybe taking too much speed into turn one. The rear swaps ends. We'll see what that looks like on board for Janowski. He's just a bit too much speed, and well, I suppose in a front engine car you'd rather hit the rear first, but
Oh no!
oh, and I think it was it contact, or I think it was just lack of, oh no, I think it was a little, Kieran wasn't sure where he was gonna go, and it was almost a little check on the exit. Fortunately, nothing worse, but for the sake of Louis Kieran, I must be said, he's going very quick for a car with no rear wing, I must say. Well, he's doing it.
Yeah,
He's doing
he
it.
is. Yeah, he is going a bit quick. I have to agree. He will know that he doesn't have a rear wing because there will be an indicator blinking at him to tell him as such. But I do worry that that would have damaged Louis Kierton's car just a little bit. It doesn't take a whole lot, but depending on how the simulator decided to damage Kierton's car may be the most important thing, but Janowski does get to pit lane with no further incident. Vermack up to P2. Remember, I said they were 19 seconds back on Whitburn earlier. They have taken some of that lead out at 16.7, 16.5 seconds the gap now, first to second place. And Wojciech Rybecki now back up to P3 in LMGT3.
Yeah, it's a heart in the mouth moment for Jacob Janowski. Fortunately, he continued going, but I mean that just shows you that pretty much everywhere on the circuit is waiting to take a bite. If you misjudge a corner wrong in the braking zone, you end up in a wall. Take too much speed on entry, you end up in a wall. And speaking of taking a bite, Louis Kierton getting a little bit out of shape there on one of those exit curbs. There's our LMGT3 leader, Matt Whitburn. Hopefully this time it'll be a less dramatic overtake. Will Louis Kierton decide to wait? He doesn't. He decides to dive in. Decides maybe I can afford to make this move, not lose too much time to Fazekas. He does, though, lose over a second with a pretty poor exit onto the straight. So the fight's coming back towards Barnabas Fazekas. Multi-class giveth and multi-class taketh away. It's my favorite thing to say in these races because it's always true, isn't it, Jess?
No, it absolutely is. Multiclass may have given Louis Kierton damage, and the only reason I say that is because about a month ago I had a race in a hypercar where I was barely touched at all, and it destroyed me aerodynamically. So I do worry that maybe there's something on that car a little bit, maybe, and even if it's not, it could be psychological. It could be placebo, total placebo effect on the leading BMW of, okay, we've been in a little bit of an issue. We've been ran down by Fazekas already, but we have one way or another got the answer to the question of, does Barnabas Fazekas have enough time? Does he have the mettle to chase down Louis Kierton? The answer is an emphatic absolutely. But from your favorite term to my favorite racing term, Jack, catching's one thing, passing quite another.
Oh, absolutely. Especially on a circuit like Sebring. There are, I'd say, a fair few overtaking opportunities, but it's not easy to do. It's narrow, it's bumpy. I feel like I've said the word bumpy today more than I've said in the past, I was going to say the past year. The year's been about 2 days long, so I think I can very quickly say that as we're hearing from Ted Edwards. Louis Kierton is quicker in the first sector. Fazekas is quicker in the second and through the third. They are roughly even. That gap, well, I was going to say is opening just a bit, but no, not at all. Maybe half a tenth in the favor of Barnabas Fazekas. We'll see how they look coming through Sunset, the critical corner on this circuit. Well, it seems like it's back in favor of Louis Kieran, but not by much between the two of them. About 17 and a half minutes remaining as they cross the line. And I just realized I never finished saying what was happening in split two because something began to occur in split one. And I talked about the hypercars, but since they have changed quite a bit, I'll run through them again. Still, Jelmer Maluma leading the hypercar field in split two. Boris Shekerjev in second position now, jumping up a position, and Thomas Walters is in third in the LMGT3. It's Luca Pavin who's still leading the field in that split, and the other Luca Rubin Ryu, is in second position, and Joe Daubert is in third. And we have, speaking of another third, Billy Octane still cruising along in the podium. There is admittedly quite a bit of a gap between Billy Octane and the drivers ahead, still squarely, fatly in the John Dalton zone. And here's Jacob Janowski back in the pits yet again. I mean, ultimately, there's nothing for Janowski to lose, but wondering if he's decided maybe to park it up for a couple of laps and maybe wait for this race to finish itself up. He can't lose any more positions, so suppose if after an incident like that, I don't know, you decide to maybe park it, chill out, and then cross the line in the next 16 minutes. But not sure. One of our
Ooh.
drivers, I was going to say, one of our drivers, Jesse, who's had a pretty busy race, was Christopher Strapen. He gained some position off the start, lost some positions in the first handful of laps, and it was busy for him in the first half, but he seems to be one of the surviving midfielders in the hypercar field. We've had a fair few retirements so far in this race, but it's current P4 for Christopher Strappen.
Yeah, if you're going to have issues, you might as well have them early, get them out of the way. It's been a quiet second half of the race for Christopher Strepe, and that's exactly what they would have wanted. I mean, at some point, all these races sort of become a test. They become a live test. If you're out here by yourself in the proverbial John Dalton zone, like Billy Octane and Christopher Strepe are, then you just sort of you're testing things. You're working through things in your head. You're learning for the next race, and it sort of becomes more about survival than actual competition. And at a racetrack like this, it's sometimes survival is the best you can hope for. But Verstappen, no doubt, is taking mental notes for next race, and just like everybody else, will come back better armed once again. But you talk about a lot of these drivers coming over from ACC, Jack, and they're learning a new sim and everything. And it is remarkable to see drivers like Rybecki, like Billy Octane, who were stars in their own right in ACC, and now they're posting consistent podiums, or on the verge of posting consistent podiums like Octane is about to do. That's absolutely incredible. And Louis Kirton, who was notable in ACC, but I think has absolutely found their sim here in LMU.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right about that. Definitely found a home. A lot of drivers seem to be finding a home here at LMU. ACC's maybe sort of dropping back into the back foot over the past couple of months. But with that being said, as a reminder, it hasn't been announced fully yet. It hasn't, we don't have the official schedule out, but we will have another ACC Monday championship coming to RCI in the next couple of weeks. I have, uh, it was leaked to me, the schedule, and I think it's going to be a really good series. GT3 cars, LMU BOP, that will start the next couple weeks and should be announced officially over on SimGrid fairly soon. So for those of you who still yearn for the for the Italian version of sim racing, I only say Italian because I don't know, Italians make it. It's the same. It's the same cars ultimately, and same sort of great racing that we get to see here. But for those of you who yearn for that, keep your eyes out on SimGrid for that. And as a reminder as well, this series continues every week for the next 2 weeks after this one till we complete this championship. And it's Paul Ricard next week. The latest circuit to be added was amended to this calendar. And, well, very much looking forward to that, Jesse. As you know, the last time we were at Paul Ricard, It was on ACC, and it was an exceptional race.
Yeah, Paul Ricard's really fun. We were talking about Paul Ricard being added to LMU right after it was sort of confirmed to be in the sim, and of course we're racing the 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 prototype racetrack, the one with the chicanes, the one that Formula One also races on. But also LMU or Studio 397 said that, yeah, we're going to add the Mistral Straight version of the racetrack and some others. Of course, Paul Ricard has, I believe, still has the Guinness World Record for the track with the most layouts. I think there's like some 100 different variants you can have. My favorite layout of Paul Ricard is the touring car layout, but nevertheless, anyone who's raced that track in F1 knows the prototype layout, as it's colloquially known. Um, that is the version that we will be racing on. But I cannot wait to get the full Mistral Straight version of that racetrack, the same as uh, in ACC. That is going to produce some absolutely hectic racing.
Oh, 100%. And we'll be looking forward to that hopefully in the next couple of months. All I know is that the uh, additional circuit layouts for Paul Ricard and for Silverstone will be releasing after the either after or whenever the release of the final ELMS circuit, which is Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. So hopefully we won't be waiting too long, and we won't be waiting too long, or really any longer, for the final bit of, well, I would say the final fight, but it's the fight for the lead of this race, the overall lead in the hypercar field. Barnabas Fazekis has been scything out that gap from Louis Kearton in the last several minutes, the last several laps. It's down to less than a second. We have maybe 6 or 7 laps remaining. Not much longer to go now. Not much longer for Louis Kearton to hold on, but it is going to be tight. It is going to be close. We'll see. Maybe a little bit cleaner for Kearton through turn one. And it is good news for Kearton. It's Rybecki yet again. Fortunately, both of the hypercars going through the inside, a bit less sketchy for them. Fazekas maybe lost a tenth or two because of that. So good news for Louis Kearton. There aren't many GT cars, but they could swing the reality of this race. But at the moment, still Louis Kearton leading the hypercars, and it's still Matthew Whitburn leading the LMGT3.
Sure is. And before these two drivers get down to business to handle it in the final 10 minutes, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We invite you to like, comment, subscribe, and follow on the respective channels as well. Join the Discord, get involved. You can join any championship that is currently running. And of course, you can join any upcoming championships, new ACC Monday championship to be announced soon, TM, as well. Get involved with us here at RCI. And a big thank you, of course, to our partners that make this race and every race possible, Green Man Gaming. You can get the Game of the Year, Expedition 33, for 30% off right now on Green Man Gaming. If you've not played Expedition 33, it is an amazing game. To say the absolute least, and even still, I'm underselling it just a little bit. Ready, Set, Sim. Build the sim rig of your dreams or your budget at Ready, Set, Sim with their sim rig builder. Moza Racing, of course, a leader in direct drive hardware, budget friendly as well. Doesn't seem all too long ago that direct drive hardware broke the bank, but not with the Moza Racing ecosystem. Pimax, the leader in VR technology, widescreen headsets. Go and check out their website, their array of Pimax VR headsets. And if you follow the link, you get an exclusive RCI discount. Coach Dave Delta and Coach Dave Academy. Of course, a lot of Coach Dave setups certainly on display here today in LMU. They, of course, support multiple sims, including ACC, iRacing, and LMU, of course. Go and check out Coach Dave Delta. Link in the description. Shout out to Motorsport UK for recommending us as a esports community. Held up there is Barnabas Fazekis. That's not going to help. And of course, one final shout out, of course, to everyone here at RCI that make all of this possible. And IMB Racewear, of course, as well. Links to all that in the description. Now, down to business. Final 7.5 minutes, Jack. I think Fazekas can get there, but the question is, can he actually make the pass?
Yeah, that is certainly the question. And as I was saying, there aren't that many GT3 cars that are on the field that can get in their way, but it seems like, well, two out of the three so far have gotten in the way of Barnabas Fazekas. I mean, he's lost a couple of tenths on this lap. However, it does seem that he's gained a bit of that back and got a bit of a better exit onto the straight there. Let's see how it's looking through Sunset. I feel like Sunset's one of the biggest sort of delta swings in one corner that you can really see on a lap. But they're mostly even. Yet again, Kieran seeming to have the better of the two. I gotta ask Jesse, if you were Barnabas Fazekas, let's say you're about 6/10 or so closer, and hopefully doesn't get held up by another GT3 car. Doesn't get held up by another GT3 car. If you were Barnabas Fazekas and a little bit closer, where would you be thinking about going for a move?
Well, you got to do it down the Ullman straight or the pit straight into turn number one. Anywhere else is a little too risky. If Louis Kirton makes a mistake in this section of the racetrack, you could possibly get him in the hairpin, and it'd be a great place to do it if you could catch him napping here, because it's somewhat easy to block him and keep him behind you. But other than that, I think really your best shot, Ullman straight, pit straight, that turn 15, 16, 17 in one complex, realistically, all the way around the racetrack here as we get into sector 3. This is just about catching up and staying as close as possible. A move here could be absolutely catastrophic if it goes wrong. Really what you want to do is catch them at the most advantageous time for you. If I'm Fazekas, I'm going to try and shorten up 15, 16 here and just drive straight, get as close as possible, which is sort of what he's doing. Less movement in the Fazekas car, a little bit more sort of trying to get to straight line speed for Louis Kirton, and it's absolutely worked. Look, the gap going the other way for a split second before Fazekas starts to reel him in again.
Oh, no. Oh, actually, I was going to say, oh, no. It might be Jacob Janowski getting in the way, making this flight a little bit more contentious. Very bumpy and very quick for Barnabas Fazekas through Sunset. But Janowski, rightfully so, knowing that there's no point at this point in the race trying to, not just get out of the way. But heads up there from Janowski, who, well, I would say it's a race to forget, but P4 is still a P4 if he ends up bringing it home in the next 5 minutes. But no, I think I find it interesting, Jesse, that you're saying that the hairpin is not a move-making opportunity. I feel like if
it is. I mean, it's just it's the most dangerous. I gave three
true.
options, right? And of
True.
the three options, it's the most dangerous. It's also the most easiest to defend as well.
Also, yes, fair enough. I just in hypercars, I think it's the trickiest to overtake. I feel like GT cars, if I want to overtake anywhere, it's there. Having ABS, being able to just sort of lay on the brakes and not worry about locking up can make it a lot easier to go for maybe a bit of a later move, maybe a bit of a deeper move. But I think in hypercars, you are absolutely right. Can be a bit sketchy, can be a bit dangerous. But it's 4 minutes now. The clock's dropping down. The laps are running out for Fazekas. We'll see where he can be through Sector 3. Maybe you can close up, get in that slipstream onto the Ullman Straight. We'll see. Here's Le Mans Curve, such named because it's the corner before a long, long straight. And it's close. It's a little bit closer. He's gaining time. There is a yellow flag. Verstappen seems to be the driver that has gotten the worst of it. Maybe a bit of damage on the car, but nothing looking too bad there. I saw a little bit of a lockup from Fazekas going into Sunset, but nothing that's really going to affect the drivability of their car at this stage of the race. Let's see what's up with Christoph. If it's Sunset again, I'm going to be sad. But there's a bit of a wide line, but looking good, looking sorted, looking gripped up. It's not Sunset. Is it then turn one? A little bit of a lockup, a little bit wide, but a little bit of a wiggle. And we'll see Oh, interesting. It's coming in. Oh, that wasn't as big of a hit as I thought it was going to be. But just getting a little bit squirrely and jumping onto the grass, maybe losing concentration towards the very end of this race. Little bit of suspension damage for him there, Jesse, but he can handle it, right?
Well, you're not going to come in now. You're just going to settle the race from here. I think they've got enough gap to Goyce, so I don't really think it's going to matter too much for them. And yeah, they're just going to finish out the race. And so are these two, Louis Kirton and Barnabas Fazekas, fighting it out here for the win. There's a lot on the line, folks, and don't let the championship picture get lost in all of this. Louis Kirton doesn't really need to win this race, but what he doesn't want is Fazekas to win this race, because if Fazekas wins this race, they're going to be in second place in this championship anyway, because Milan van der Voken wasn't here today and have already used their drop round. So Barnabas was going to be in P2 anyway. But if Barnabas Fazekas wins this race over Louis Kirton, that actually makes this championship fight quite a bit closer in the final two rounds as we start the final lap.
Yeah, it's only a couple more good chances for Barnabas Fazekas to secure this victory. This was a race that, I mean, if you just started watching it now, you think the story was, oh, Kieran's probably been leading this whole thing there, right? No, not such. Kieran was out in front for majority of the first stint and lost maybe a little bit of a concentration, went very deep into the hairpin we're about to run into now. Fazekas swung by, he's showing his nose, but it's way too far back to go for a move. But he could be forcing a mistake. Kieran actually does go a little bit deep yet again, but not deep enough for Fazekas to run on through. He is absolutely as close as he's been. This is a tricky part of the circuit to overtake on, especially in a hypercar. Everything happens just a little bit too quickly. Braking distances are a little bit too short. He's very close now. He's thinking about it. He's getting close. I think if I was
just
him,
got to stay close.
He's got to stay close towards that Ullman straight. But Barnabas Fazekas was leading into the pit lane. Then they stopped. Kieran got him on the on the undercut. And, well, Fazekas almost met Barriere in Sunset. Fortunately, didn't. That would have robbed us from the drama we're about to experience. And it is a good exit for Fazekas, but 3/10 is a long way back. Oh, it's a very good exit. But the braking distance short, he's going to think about it. He's going to go for it along the inside of Louis Kirton. It's too wide through Sunset. Oh, I think Kirton might have this wrapped up. It's going to be really close. It's going to be really close. Oh, it's Louis Kirton by 1/10 of a second over Barnabas Fazekas. And he gets the wiggle on the end, and both drivers taking a bit of parade. That was very close. Very well judged by both drivers. That might be one of the closest finishes we've seen here on RCI in a while. Jacob Janowski getting out of the way of a hypercar for the final time. And Billy Octane, the man in the Dalton zone. But the man is on the podium. He can go through Sunset at whatever speed he likes for the final time. He's not going to do it very slowly. That's two podiums on the trot in a row for Billy Octane. And we see Jacob Janowski weaving in the background, just probably happy to get this one wrapped up. Here comes Matthew Whitburn. He came from the pole, led every lap of the race, was briefly under threat from Jacob Janowski and Zach Vermack, but he stayed firm and wins this race by a very respectable 10-second margin for Matt Whitburn and Zach Vermack. Maybe it was a bad strategy call. Maybe it was a mistake in the pit lane, but it was still a fight worth fighting for Zach Vermack to finish in P2 here at Sebring.
Yeah, it was absolutely a well-driven race by Matt Whitburn there. It's hard to believe that Whitburn and Vermack were the drivers battling it out for the majority of this race, if you can remember that. And somehow they ended up some 7 seconds apart. And Kirton and Fazekas are the ones that ended up in a photo finish across the line. And I want to give both Louis Kirton and Barnabas Fazekas a lot of credit there. Fazekas could have absolutely used up Louis Kearton there out of Sunset. They were so close, but he didn't. He backed off, and ultimately, in my opinion, that's what cost Fazekas that win. But that's just the show goes to show you what kind of driver Barnabas Fazekas is. Didn't want to win that way. Didn't want to use up Kearton. Wanted it to be a clean finish, and it was down to the line. And
Ooh.
Kearton
Oh.
Kearton's going to celebrate by sliding the car into the pit lane, but that was a lot of respect, and that is how you build goodwill. I cannot wait. I want them to continue. Does it have to be over? Can we send them back out and let them do that again? That was amazing. Excellent driving, respectful driving, photo finish. What more could you ask for here at Sebring?
I mean, not much. I mean, maybe a little less meetings with Barry R, but that's kind of Sebring for you. We'll run through those final results for the final time. It's Louis Kearton and Barnabas Fizikis basically crossing the line at the exact same time. Kearton was a nose ahead, a hair ahead, and took victory here at Sebring. And Billy Octane, certainly not the most exciting race of his career, but certainly a podium nonetheless. He finishes in third position. Christopher Streppen, another driver who it was exciting in the beginning, not so exciting in the second half, but P4, good championship points. And Gurgly Goy, a driver that, well, didn't start great, may have been a disqualification for coming out early into qualifying. That might have happened, but survived the carnage, finished in fifth position, and we did lose Jordan Daly and Brandon Mercier during the race, both with wheel removing consequences in and around Sebring. For the GT3 cars, it's Matt Whitburn. As I said, he led from the pole, fastest lap in qualifying. Not sure if it was the fastest lap in the race. It was the fastest lap in the race, and it led basically every single lap. I think only his pit stop, his out lap, he was briefly overcut, but came back through as Ted is rightfully correct in me saying it wasn't the fastest. Absolutely. Jacob Janowski was absolutely the quickest. I thought that was a 2:02.888, not a 2:01.888. Wasn't the fastest lap. Still a race victory nonetheless. Still a very incredible performance from the Lamborghini driver. And maybe it's the new stage of Lamborghini dominance in LMU. Kind of hope so. Really like that car. I'd enjoy being quick for a couple of months before it gets nuked back to the Shadow Realm. But it's Zach Vermack in second position, Wojciech Rybecki in third, Jacob Janowski in fourth. After that unfortunate loss of loss of traction, taking it a bit too hot into turn one, losing the rear wang and still finishing in fourth position. And we lost Tom Watts and Matteo Venuti in that race as well. You'd think that we'd have a bit more of a boring race, Jesse, with the sort of few cars that we ended up finishing. But lo and behold, we got one of the best finishes I think I've seen so far here at RCI.
Yeah, that was absolutely hands down the best finish in LMU, and I wouldn't have called that here at Sebring. Sebring, typically you get strung out, but in real life, it sort of echoes real life. It seems like every year when the prototypes, no matter if it's IMSA or WEC, they always seem to have these really close, really edge of your seat finishes, and we were certainly treated to one of those today. And man, I just keep going back to the sportsmanship. There were a lot of opportunities for car contact that could have led to catastrophic results today. Almost every single issue we saw on track today was a self inflicted issue. And that is amazing to see that level of sportsmanship and camaraderie in a race. 2026 starting out on an absolute banger of a high note, though, with that incredible finish. If I'm Louis Kearton, if I'm Barnabas Fazekas, I think we need to bring him around to take a bow because that was a masterclass in driving, a masterclass in strategy. And for Louis Kearton, it is a championship of hunt affirming sort of performance, but you can't look to that trophy just yet. Fazekas has put him on notice. I can't wait to see how it shakes out in the final two rounds.
Yeah, can't wait to shake out indeed. Of course, we've got Paul Ricard next week and the mighty Spa Francorchamps in the following week. But before we get to that, we got Split 2 to shout out. I do have the results from their race, and it seemed like it was a bit of a classic drive for Jelmer Maluma. Believe they're on the pole. They do have fastest lap. Every time I looked over, they were leading the race, and they managed to claim victory in the hypercars. A very dominant performance for Jelmer in the hypercar field. Thomas Walters is in second position, just behind, and Callum Kerrigan managed to retake that final podium position. There certainly was a fight going on there. I saw that position change hands several times, and the in first position in the LMGT3 field, it was actually Luca Rabin Ryu who managed to, or sorry, not Luca Rabin Ryu. It was Luca Pavin who was in. Well, actually, hold on. I just realized I made a bit of mistake. And give me one moment. Well, no, I've lost it. The screenshot I grabbed has the winner of the race covered, so I'm not 100% sure who won in the LMGT3 field. I am a professional, and I am sorry. I'm not sure. I believe I'm with a certain degree of certainty. I believe it's Joe Dauber who won that race. He was on the podium for most of the race, and he's the one name I can't quite see. So we're just gonna say Joe Dauber claimed victory at Sebring in the LMGT3 field, followed by Luca Pavin in second position and Luca Rebin Ryu. I should not be put in charge of things because I have proven that I am incapable of
If you're
doing
wrong,
things properly.
we'll just amend the results so that you're right. You know what I mean?
Oh, good
Broadcaster privilege. The winner is
broadcast.
whoever you say it is.
Oh, you hear that, guys? So my Venmo is actually no. I'm not gonna do that.
Ted
I
Edwards
would
won
never.
this race.
Well, congratulations to Ted Edwards. I knew he was a good broadcaster.
How'd he drive and broadcast at the same time?
True.
I don't know, but we said it, so it must be true.
It's unbelievable drive from him. I mean, it's starting from the pit lane and overtaking everybody on lap one. That was unbelievable stuff. I saw it. We all saw it. We were all here. But no, all jokes aside, as Jesse said, an absolutely fantastic start to 2026 here at RCI. More racing to come. We have our ACC Monday champ looming that should get going before the end of January. Should be announced hopefully soon. Final things are being sorted out. Our event managers are working their absolute best to make sure that we have a brilliant, brilliant season for that. So, you know, don't step away from ACC just yet. Still got some more racing to do. So keep your eye out on SimGrid for that. And of course, if you'd like to join us, we are all over SimGrid, and also join us on our Discord, where we're all over on our Discord, a great, awesome community where you can not just race, you can chat with everybody. Really fun people, really enjoying. It's a really enjoyable group of people, and a privilege to be a part of this community for 2026. 2025 was my first year, and 2026 is my second year, and I think it's got to be twice as good. And so far, that was doubly good racing. That was excellent, excellent work from all of our drivers. So congratulations to all of our winners in Split One and in Split Two. Jesse Lee, any final words? Any final advice for us before we close this thing out?
Well, folks, if a photo finish isn't good enough for a follow and a subscribe, I don't know what is. Follow, subscribe, join us at our Discord and over on SimGrid Race RCI. Check us out. We'll be back live next Friday for the continuing coverage of the Multi Sprint Championship. But my goodness, just a brilliant race today and well managed by most people involved, especially with the wheel to wheel racing today, was absolutely exemplary. Jack, take us out.
Absolutely. And one final bit of amending to what Jesse said, or not amending, but agreeing, is so you saw that level of racing. Now take that in your races. Be the change you want to see in the world. Be sportsmanship. Be sportsmanship like. Show that you are not gonna run
We're
into
getting
people.
motivational in
We
2026
are
over here at
getting
RCI.
motivational. I'm here to change the. We're here to change the world. Change the status quo for racing. But no, please enjoy the rest of your days, weeks, afternoons, nights, whatever time of day, wherever you are in the world. And a final thank you to our partners who help us make everything here at RCI happening. Thank you to Ready Set Sim for all your sim rig building needs, to Coach Dave Delta and Coach Dave Academy for all your setups, all your coaching, all your lap time finding you could want. Thank you to Green Man Gaming for your awesome and incredible deals, such as that of Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Go check them out on Green Man Gaming. And thank you to Moser Racing. If you want some really good high quality direct drive gear for some really good high quality prices, check them out. And thank you to Pimax as well. We do have that discount link in the description. Final thank you to Motorsport UK for having us as a recommended community. And thank you all for being here with us for the start of 2026. We look forward to seeing you next Friday for more LMU multi class action. Be nice to yourselves, nurse your New Year's hangovers, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Get behind the wheel, let's go. Grip the road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring, steel alive. Live this dream and drive. Tires burning with gasoline. Push the limits, chasing green. One shot, don't slow. Go on, we'll take control. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights.